Hello and welcome everyone to our class on listening to your inner guidance. This is a day that we're going to focus on tuning into our energy center for creativity, desires, feelings, which is the sacral or second chakra. So before we get started, I wanted to remind you to have your yoga props handy. And if you don't have yoga props, some blankets or towel folds, pillows, or perhaps a sturdy stack of books will work just fine. So in our first session of this series of the journey through the chakras, we focused on the first chakra with a grounding practice. And if you'd like to go back to review about that chakra, feel free to go back and listen to the beginning where Deborah so beautifully explains it. She will now teach about our second chakra so that listening to your inner guidance perhaps feels a bit more accessible.
Hi, everyone. So let's talk about our second chakra today. So the second chakra is the lesson of our right to have our own feelings, ideas, beliefs, and for us to do what's called individuate or differentiate from other people. So we're always part of a tribe. And so we might have different feelings or beliefs than our loved ones, right? Our significant others, friends, families, and so on. And so we need to be able to find that inner voice, find our sense of knowing of ourself, and sometimes say it's okay to be me, separate and different from everyone else. This lesson, they say, starts to happen around 18 to 24 months when we hit the terrible twos, right? So that's when you first start to hear the no's, or I want it this way, right? So we develop our own sense of self that has a different agenda, a different quality world than someone else in the room. And that's okay. We need to start learning that lesson. It just makes it tricky when you're parenting, right? So the color, each chakra again has its own color. So color of the second chakra is orange. Its element is water, and it governs your reproductive organs and your bladder. So it's definitely something we're very interested in terms of fertility. It's seed sounds. All of them have sounds. So the traditional Sanskrit sound is vam, V-A-M, or in more of an English word, you can think of the word rule and do that ooh sound like rule. That will also help to activate it. And the demon or the block, so again, all our chakras have blocks, is guilt. So think about, and I want you to differentiate the idea between guilt when it's other people putting their guilt on you. That's kind of different, telling you you should be this and you should be that, versus guilt when it's our own inner sense of knowing, saying, I don't think I really want to be that kind of person. But so that's the block. So when you're feeling guilty, just even notice, sometimes tune into your body. Where are you holding that sense of guilt in your body? Notice if it's down there in the second chakra. Sometimes it will be, sometimes it might be somewhere else too, by the way. So during our practice today, here is the invitation in terms of what you might want to be mindful about. And you can also practice it the rest of the day this week, whenever it feels good. So I'd like you to think about, how does your inner guidance, your intuition, your soul, however you want to think about it, speak to you? Do you dream? Do you get a gut feeling? Do you get a shiver down your spine, or some other sensation, thought, sense of knowing? So start to pay attention, because your inner guidance is always trying to get your attention. We just all have to learn how it speaks to us individually, and that can differ between people. Um, and if you're not sure, just start paying attention. My next question to you is, where do you feel most inspired or alive? So what kinds of things are you drawn to naturally? What do you watch for hours or do for hours without even realizing the time has gone by? Because that's also another sense of your inner guidance talking to you and going, hey, that's you. Do more of that. Think that way. Do that. That's you. That's your true self. And then the other thing I'm going to invite you to think about is, are there relationships in your life where perhaps you might want to set a different set of boundaries? So where do you sometimes feel like things might be crossed, or find yourself getting angry a lot or feeling guilty or something like that because you're not saying no enough or telling people what you need? Because that's also part of the second chakra lesson. And I want you to remember that every person, situation, or event is a mirror to teach you who you are or who you want to be. So when you get in these uncomfortable situations, or when you're not sure what kind of decision to make, know that it's just the mirror of life trying to help teach you these lessons. So if you can see life in that way rather than, oh, this is so painful, or why is this happening to me, versus, let me be curious, how come this is showing up for me? Then you can get such rich data, and life can be a little more like this in terms of smaller bumps versus feeling like it's like this. All right. So let's get into our bodies and let's work the second chakra.
All right, everybody, let's find a comfortable seat. You can really sit however you want here. Initially, I'm sitting cross-legged, but if you have blocks, you could sit with your knees forward with your blocks between the ankles if that feels better. So just find something that feels good right now and take a moment to shift your attention inward. And you might do this by closing your eyes or softening your gaze down. And just start to initially sense and feel your body in space, noticing the shape you're in, space that you're taking up on your mat or on the floor. And start to sense the foundation of the shape you're in right now. So it might be part of your pelvis and your legs, or the tops of your feet and shins. Take a full breath in through the nose, and then just softly let it go. And again, just a sweet, full, slow, and steady breath in, and a soft letting go. As it feels right for you, allow your lips to softly seal and your jaw to unhinge. And invite your breath to move in through your nose and out through your nose. If you know the practice of Ujjayi pranayama, I'm going to ask you to wait on that, because in a moment we're going to do another breath work, but just breathing consciously and fully in through your nose and out through your nose. Floating your hands either to your heart with the palms together in front of your heart, maybe both hands resting directly over your heart, or if it resonates, one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly. Bowing inward if your neck allows it, and taking this moment to set a conscious intention for your practice, as Deborah so beautifully explained a few moments ago, what that might be. Sealing that intention in as you gently lift your head, release your arms, and open the eyes to a soft gaze. Okay. So we are going to start to engage Nadi Shodhana pranayama. This is alternate nostril breathing. And this breath work is really about balancing the hemispheres of the body between masculine and feminine. And so you can stay in the seat that you're in. I did just want to invite those of you who have the fertility balls to potentially take one of the balls, and you would kind of lift yourself up and you would sit on it right at the perineum area. This is a really powerful way to access this breath. But it's not necessary. So if you're like, uh-oh, I don't have fertility balls, or you don't feel comfortable in this position, just know that's okay, and you can take it out if you need to. So Nadi Shodhana is just going to be inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. So we're going to use our dominant hand. In my case, it's my right hand. I'm actually going to put up my right hand. Usually I mirror on video. So just know that if you're right-handed, it's going to look like we're opposite. Okay. So taking the right hand or your dominant hand, you're going to drop your first two fingers down, the peace fingers, I like to call them, just drop them down. And you're going to end up turning your hand towards your face. Your if you're using your right hand, your thumb is going to be near your right nostril, and your ring and or pinky finger is going to be near your left. And that's how we're going to essentially alternate the breath between the nostrils. So we're just going to synchronize our breath for a moment. And I just want to just quickly add that this breath work is safe to do at any time, even if you are pregnant. So take a sweet full breath in and exhale normally. And then gently close off the right nostril and inhale through the left. And you're just going to move on your own rhythm, taking that full breath in. At the top of that in breath, gently close the left, hold, open the right, and exhale through your right nostril. When you're ready to take your next breath in, you're going to inhale through the right. Close, hold, open left, exhale. Inhale left. Close, hold, open right, exhale. When you're ready, inhale right. Close, hold, open left, exhale. You're going to continue on your own rhythm, several more rounds. We're going to finish up by inhaling through the right. Close, hold, and then the final one here is just exhaling fully through the left once you get there, and then you're going to gently release your hand. And just take a moment just to breathe normally and just to feel, just to sense how you feel. So that's a beautiful breath work to do. It's very soothing and calming to the system. And of course, we're also balancing, as I said before. We just, so you know, we started with the inhaling through the left, did several rounds, and then finished by exhaling through the left. And that's really to access more of the feminine hemisphere of the body, which is more of the calming, cooling part. So for those of us sitting cross-legged, please take a moment to note which leg is crossed in front. Stretch your legs out for a second because we've been there for a moment. Maybe wiggling your legs or rolling your ankles. And then go ahead and switch the crossing of your legs. Place your hands on your thighs. And now, as we move into the movement part of our practice, if you want to utilize your Ujjayi breath, which is your diaphragmatic breathing, please feel free. You'll probably hear me breathing that way. So as you're ready, we're going to imagine that our pelvis is a bowl of soup or stew. And so we want to be kind of anchored and leveled with this pelvic bowl, and that the torso is the ladle which we're stirring it with. So we're just going to start to circle the spine around the pelvis. And as we come forward, that's our inhale. So we're opening up the heart. As we go back, we're drawing the navel slightly in and up, letting the upper back round as we go back on the exhale. And so we're just going several rounds in one direction here at first. And since this chakra focus is, the second chakra, more of that area that houses the reproductive organs, which is the pelvic bowl, we're starting to stir that energy now. Gently reverse and go the other direction. Inhaling the heart forward. Exhale, gently rounding through the upper mid back. You can drop your head or just let the head kind of do whatever feels natural. Good here. And so just really with this movement here, just seeking a sense of ease and flow and fluidity. Taking a final cycle here. Once you feel complete, just draw your body back to center, back to neutral, and notice. And then from here, we're going to just slowly transition to hands and knees, tabletop positioning. So if you need or want a thin blanket fold under your knees, that is perfectly fine. If you have blocks handy and you want to utilize them because you feel tight in your neck and shoulders today, just showing this as an option, you could take the blocks underneath your hands, which doesn't work for everything, but it works for a lot of things on the hands and knees. So spreading the fingers bright. We're going to inhale, draw the chest forward, broaden your collarbones, get long. As you exhale, round through your upper mid back, dropping the head and pushing your hips back towards your heels. And then inhale, rocking forward, getting long in the spine. Exhale, rounding through the upper mid back, letting the head dangle and pushing the hips back towards the heels. Kind of a modified child's pose here. Moving on the rhythm of your breath. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to add on to this movement as you inhale, come forward, broaden your collarbones, curl your toes under. As you exhale, gently lift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. We're going to keep moving on the breath here initially. So on your very next inhale, you're going to bend your knees, gaze forward, and start to lower your knees to the ground with control. As you exhale, uncurl your toes, round your upper mid back, and push your hips back towards your heels. Inhale, rocking forward, get long in your spine, integrate your shoulders, and curl your toes. Exhale, rising up, dog pose. Continue to move on the rhythm of your breath. Inhale, lowering the knees down, shoulders integrated. Exhale, rounding and pushing back any amount. The next time you come to child's pose, I'm going to have you pause there, bringing your big toes together and your knees wide enough for your torso to fall through. And then just taking a moment as you elongate your spine to rest your forehead down on the mat, to allow your arms to be in whatever positioning feels good in your body. So you might take a more restful position by bending the elbows. You might take a more active position by reaching the arms further forward to find the length in your side body. And my personal favorite is a little bit of a shoulder opener by bringing the palms together like prayer, picking up the hands, taking them behind your head, any amount, and kind of inching the elbows forward. Take a few more breaths just here and allow yourself to just choose what feels good in terms of the positioning of your arms. So you might explore a couple of those. Gently begin to release your arms if they're over your head, separating your hands to shoulder width or wider, and just taking the hands back towards your outer knees, integrating your shoulders on your back and softly pressing up on an exhale. We're going to reset for downward facing dog. So just starting to parallel the knees and feet back to hip width, resetting the hands about a hand's width distance forward of the shoulders. Integrating the shoulders on the back, curl your toes under and exhale, rise up to dog pose. And so now we're going to take several breaths in this pose, starting to check in a little bit further with the body, feeling hopefully an elongation of the spine as you lift your hips up and back. Maybe pedaling your legs if that feels nice. Any kind of shifting movement or bending of the legs. And then from here, go ahead and walk your hands back to meet your feet, coming to a standing forward fold. You can bend your knees as much as you need or want. You can allow your arms to just hang like a rag doll if your hands or fingertips can easily touch the floor, or you might grab onto opposite elbows with each hand. And even here, once you get your arms set where you want it, you may find that it feels good to kind of bend and straighten your legs, or almost softly pedal the legs or sway the spine. All of that might feel nice. So go with it. You know, part of the second chakra is, as Deborah mentioned, the element of water. And so as we move and as we transition, even imagine that you're moving through water. So there's a slowing down to the movement. We're going to take a final cycle of breath here. And then I'm going to give you a couple options to rise. If you don't have low back issues and it feels good to just round your spine and kind of ragdoll up, you can roll up as a ragdoll, keeping your knees soft the whole way. Your head would be the last thing to come up. For those of you who may have tender low backs or something going on, I'm going to suggest that you bend your knees, climb your hands to the very top of your thighs, lift your chest, so flat back. And then on an exhale, push your hands down into your thighs to rise with a flat back. And then once you're up, take a moment to get your bearings, just to kind of let that wash over you. And if you do have a blanket on your mat right now, you might just want to move it off to the side. We're going to take a wide stance on the mat, coming into goddess pose. So with goddess pose, you want to take a wide enough stance and your toes will be slightly turned out, heels in, just like a comfortable position. But when you go to bend, you just don't want your knees to go past your ankles. So you want to make sure there's a wide enough stance there. So take a moment to just measure. And you don't have to come to like a super, super deep bend. Just know that it can be a soft bend. And at any point you can straighten your legs, okay? So we're gonna be in the soft bend, just find neutral spine here. We're breathing consciously. Bring your hands together and start to rub your hands together, creating some heat and energy. And then opening up your hands, you might feel a little tingling, some heat. Bring your hands to your belly. So your thumbs are going to rest at your navel, index fingers are touching. So we're creating a upside down triangle shape here at the belly. And take some breaths. And see if you can feel and notice your belly kind of expanding toward your hands as you inhale, filling your hands. And as you exhale, just a soft drawing back. Good. Again, one more time like that. Gently release your hands, and on an inhale, we're going to sweep the arms up, starting to straighten the legs, which I'm sure is welcomed by now. Exhale, start to bend your knees, drawing your hands down past your heart and all the way back to your belly as we had them positioned before. So we're going to move on the breath. Inhale, reach up, sweep the arms up like you're gathering up this life force energy. And then exhale, allowing that to draw down the central axis of the spine where the main chakras reside, all the way to the belly, second chakra. One more time, inhale, reach up, sweep the arms overhead, and exhale. Good. And then take a moment here and remember you can straighten your legs at any time. Okay. So as your hands are positioned this way, let your right about where your ring fingers are, where your ovaries are. So you start to create some gentle circles with your ring fingers, or maybe all the fingers, whatever works, but in that general vicinity beneath the ring fingers. And we're breathing. And so as we're here, this really is just an opportunity to draw more awareness and energy into this space that we're massaging. The power of touch is beneficial, even our own. And then gently reverse and go the other way. And then pausing, inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, hands draw all the way down to the belly. Again, inhale. And exhale. Good. Beautiful. From here, we're going to gently straighten the legs, release the arms, heel toe, the feet a little more narrow. Now, the toes on this next one, they may still be turned out. Some people's are, some people's aren't. It's fine. We're going to start to shift down into a squat. So again, you can reposition your feet as you need to. They don't have to be super wide. Oftentimes they come a little more narrow. If you're unable to get your heels on the ground, don't worry, we're not going to be here long, but you could roll the back edge of your mat in, or stick a blanket fold beneath your heels, or a block beneath your tush. So we're breathing here. You can bring your hands to your heart if that feels nice, or you can have your hands down on the ground and kind of forward fold. If the hands are at the heart, then lift your chest and allow your arms to push into your legs, and your legs to push into your arms equally, which is going to help your spine get a little longer. Final breath here. And then if you don't have a block underneath your tush, you might be able to just release your arms behind you and gently sit down. Okay. So we are going to start to activate our sea of blood point. This is part of our fertility meridian that is for acupuncture, or acupuncture and acupressure. We're going to be using acupressure at this moment using our hands. If you need or want, you could be sitting on a folded blanket, which just might feel a little more supportive to the spine and a little softer. And the other thing that I want to say is we're going to take the basic shape of the legs of Baddha Konasana, where the soles of the feet are together, knees apart. So if that feels intense to you, we're going to be here for a moment, right? You might take blocks and just support your legs. So just know that's okay. You can even at some point just stretch a leg out if it's uncomfortable. All right. All right, my friends. So the sea of blood point, we're going to start on the on your left side. So I'm going to mirror you this time. So your left. the sea blood point that we're going to be activating this area is between the inner knee and the groin, but it's part of this bigger spleen chi meridian that runs from the big toe all the way up. And this is about regulating the amount of blood flow that moves into the pelvis. It aids in digestion. It's great for reducing stagnation of that energy. So we're going to start by taking the left middle finger to the kneecap, so that flat part of the knee, and then let your palm rest flat right over the top of your lower thigh there. And then your thumb is going to drop in. And where that thumb kind of lands is about where the sea of blood line is. It's a vein. So we're going to take our opposite thumb and just bring the thumbs together, and then maybe take a little space between them, but you're basically on that line. So take a breath in. On your exhale, push straight down. Inhale, lift your thumbs, travel up about an inch or two towards your pelvis, and exhale, press. Inhale, lift and travel with thumbs. Exhale, press. And so you're going to just move on your own rhythm of breath. And again, we are basically kind of on the inner thigh, kind of this line between the, the knee cap and kind of the inner knee. So it's that space. And so we're just palpating this area to activate it. You may notice some tender spots along the way. I certainly am today. My understanding is that stagnation of energy. Once you get to the pelvis, you can't go any further, then you're going to start back at the beginning and you're going to just do the same thing again. And you can see that we're moving toward the pelvis, toward the heart, toward ourselves. And that's the direction we want to go, so that we're encouraging that movement of energy. And I will note that this is safe to do at any time, even once you're pregnant. So it's such a great self acupressure exercise, because you can really do it anytime. You can even do it when you're sitting waiting in the doctor's office. So once you've done at least 2 rounds, and we're all breathing at different pace here, but at least 2 rounds, we're going to take a moment. And this isn't really part of the sea of blood point activation per se, but since we're in this area, just to massage down, we're going to go a little bit further down from where we were toward this connective tissue, this kind of thick ligamental connective tissue here at the groin, and just start to kind of massage that area with our fingers. So one of the things with fertility that we're looking to do is we're really looking to open up the energy channels of circulation and energetics in and around the pelvis. And so it can get tight and it can get, stagnant or blocked. And so we're just kind of utilizing our hands here. You can even go toward the pubic bone a little bit, just kind of feeling and massaging. And once you feel complete with that, we're going to now sweep the energy from the big toe all the way up toward the groin. So just in this nice sweeping motion here. And they say that once the sea of blood point is activated, that it can start to kind of, I guess, cool the temperature of the blood. And so once you're done sweeping, just take a moment to feel, and you might feel kind of a cooling rush of energy moving up that leg. All right. So we're going to go to the second side, to your right side. If your legs are dying and you need to kind of shake them out for a second, please feel free to do that. Listen to your body. And we're going to start to activate and find this area in the same way. So the right middle finger is going to rest on the kneecap. The palm rests down, the thumb rests in. And we take our second thumb in that general vicinity. Take a breath in. Exhale, press. Inhale, lift and travel. Exhale, press. Continue on your own rhythm. Once you've completed your first cycle, just start back at the beginning. So take your time, do at least 2 cycles. And then when you feel ready, start to explore the kind of self massage here of the inner groin, maybe even the pubic bone or um, sit bones, those bony tuberosities we sit on. There's one on each side. And all those pelvic floor muscles are connecting there, about 3 layers of muscles connecting into that pubic area. And when you're ready, we're going to sweep the energy from the big toe all the way up. Take a moment to feel. So from here, taking your hands to the outer knees, gently taking the knees up. We are going to come lie on our back. So however is easiest for you to get there. And for this next pose on the back, you might have a folded blanket handy, a block, or even a bolster. So you're going to choose what feels good. For those of you who don't have yoga props, you can take any blanket or towel folds and just basically create like a fold that's maybe, as wide as a block, 3 inches, 4 inches high. So from here, once you come down on your back, feel free to hug your knees in towards your chest, maybe rock from side to side, just allowing your body to get ready for this next kind of reset of the practice. And then bring your feet to the mat, knees bent, feet flat, and allow your feet to rest hip width distance. Have your block or blanket fold or bolster nearby, like within arm's reach, but not in your way. Bring your arms by your side, palms facing up. And the arms need not be glued into your sides. They can drift out a bit. Palms are facing up, and then start to press the backs of your shoulders into the ground. Take a breath in. And on your exhale, push into your feet and lift your hips. And then you're going to grab your block or your blanket fold or whatever you're using and take it underneath your low back sacrum. Now I've got the block at the medium height just because my hips were able to lift that high. So never force. So just go to the height that feels good. But you're going to place it on the bony kind of triangular area of your low back, kind of right above your butt crack. Somewhere in there is what I call a sweet spot. And you can move it around as much as you need to until you find your sweet spot. Until you can really just allow your pelvis to be held, allow your body to be held by the earth. So this is a restorative pose, and it's so lovely. Honestly, no matter where you're at in your cycle, it's one of my favorite things to do when I'm actually on my menstrual cycle. If I'm crampy or feeling heavy and bloated, to come into a supported bridge. It just takes weight off the internal organs there of the pelvic bowl. It's also lovely for the 2-week wait or the second half of your cycle to calm and cultivate. And it's encouraged for the 2-week wait and the first trimester of pregnancy even. So it's just allowing the energetics, your lower wind energetics, to just hold in a nice, soft way. Taking some breaths here, just taking a moment to just let yourself be without the need to do right now, just to be in this moment. Where can you soften? What can you let go of? This is a pose that you could really stay in for a while if you wanted to. So just know that it's sometimes just this beautiful standalone pose. For the sake of time for our practice today, I'm going to start to guide us out for the next thing. So take a moment to feel the connection of the backs of your shoulders, the backs of your arm bones to the ground, and your feet. Take a breath in. On your exhale, gently push into your feet and lift your hips enough to remove your prop. Keep your hips lifted for a moment once you set that prop to the side. Take a breath in, and on your exhale, lower a quarter of the way down. Inhale, holding and hovering. Exhale, another quarter of the way down. Inhale here. Exhale, and keep going a quarter of the way until you're all the way down. Once you're all the way down, take a moment to feel. And bring, for a second, the width of your mat or wider than your hips and your knees, tipping in and resting upon one another. And let your legs just get really heavy. From here, walk your feet back to hip width. And so we're going to come into a final hip stretch here, and just want to give options. You can either cross your right ankle over your left thigh, figure four shape, and then pick up the legs and thread the hands through to grab hold to the back of the left thigh or front of the left shin. So that's option one. Option two, it's the same, it's targeting the same muscle, but you would cross your right leg all the way over your left, and then pick up your legs and interlace your hands behind your left thigh. So this is not accessible for all people, so that's okay. I like to give options. The figure four just might feel better. So you're going to see, and you're going to choose what feels good for you in this moment. In either positioning, once you get there, we're looking to find some stretch or sensation in the right outer hip glute area. I'm going to invite you to bring your attention also to your jaw once again and make sure it's unhinged. The lips are softly sealed. And breathe into the spaces and places of stretch and sensation. You might tip your legs a little bit to your left to deepen or change up the stretch you're feeling or shift it in some way. Or you could even gently rock, little half rocks, left to center, or even left all the way to right. So take a few breaths. Last breath here. Gently uncross your legs. Take a hand behind each thigh and reach your legs skyward. They don't have to be fully straight. You might roll your ankles, flex and point. Sacrum staying anchored to the ground as the legs are lifted, pulling them toward you. Then we're going to bend the knees and you're going to go to the other side. And so you're going to perhaps match what you did on the other side, but maybe not. One side is usually different than the other. And so you may find as you explore what's going to be the perfect thing on this side. And it might be different. If for any reason, and I'm sorry I didn't say this on the other side, this is too intense for you to be holding your legs, you can always take a block underneath your bottom foot so that your hand's free and it's not as intense of a stretch. Take a final couple breaths here, maybe rocking or moving around a little. And once you feel complete, we're going to gently release. Uncross the legs, hug the knees in. Take a wide kneed hold. So maybe you're grabbing on to the back of your thighs, letting your knees drop open to like a passive happy baby position, or maybe it feels good to come into a full happy baby. But take a moment here to do something that feels good, that's wide kneed, knees drawing up toward you, but wide kneed. This is just to neutralize the low back and the hips. And then release. We're going to set up for Shavasana. You can really set up however feels good. If you like laying flat on the mat, you might just stretch your legs out, let them flop open to more classical Shavasana. If you have low back tenderness or you just want more support, you could take a blocks or blanket fold or a bolster underneath the back of your knees. So anything like that, or you could set up in any other position that feels good. So I'm going to let you start to settle into a positioning where you feel held and you feel nurtured. Take your time.
And as you're settling into Shavasana, maybe take a moment to bring awareness to whatever you're aware of. So noticing in your mind if there's any thoughts. So just describe them, label them, put them on a cloud, let them float away. And then notice what next comes into your awareness. Maybe you notice a sensation in the body. So again, notice and label it, put it on a cloud, and let it float away. So sometimes rather than initially trying to get quiet, it can be helpful to focus our awareness on what we are aware of, place it on a cloud, let it go. And with time, as we practice this, sometimes what you might notice that your thoughts, your body sensations, your emotions just start to become a little less frequent. So if it feels helpful today to practice this during your Shavasana, feel free, or do it for part of it and then work to let go of everything and be more still. Or if it feels good today to just move to stillness and quiet, go for it. So, taking a few minutes for Shavasana in whatever way feels good, knowing that part of why we want to be quiet is so that we can hear that inner guidance that we were talking about earlier. It's hard for our sense of our soul, our inner guidance, our intuition to speak to us if our mind is chattering all the time. So here we go, a couple of minutes of Shavasana. Know that if you'd like to continue your Shavasana for longer, you're welcome to pause or turn off the recording and continue. Otherwise, if you're ready to begin to wake up, you might choose to take some gentle movement, like wiggling your toes or your fingers, or circling ankles and wrists. You might choose to begin to take some deeper breaths. If you used any kinds of props, you might choose to gently move them out of the way so that you can roll either onto the left or the right side, coming into fetal position And pausing there for a couple of breaths. Keeping your eyes closed. When you're ready, gently pressing yourself up to a comfortable seated position. And then bringing your hands into heart center, either in prayer position, where you might choose to lay one hand on top of the other over the heart center, or bring one hand down to your belly over that second chakra. Taking a moment to bow your chin in towards your heart, your inner teacher, and trusting that the lessons of these chakras, all of them, even when they're sometimes challenging, are here for our inner growth, our spiritual journey. So that the more we can be open, curious, and playful around them, again, the easier the journey becomes. If you have an intention you'd like to set for the rest of your day or week, do so now.
In our practice, we like to end our and seal the practice by saying Namaste, which is the divine mother in me sees and acknowledges the divine mother in you. Namaste.
Namaste.